Inquiring minds want to know. What up, my channel? Welcome back to another video. I'm Jessie, and you're watching. Today I am here to discuss some drama that has taken place in the Bookstagram community. Now, many of us here on BookTube aren't really that familiar with Bookstagram or don't navigate it with the same level of frequency that we navigate BookTube, and we messy over here. A lot of people think that Bookstagram is somehow free of the drama that we see on BookTube and on Book Twitter. That's a damn lie. Wait, I forgot my tea. I'm back with reinforcements. As if there's not enough going on in the world. Yesterday? Okay, I just hit puberty real quick.
I've been waiting my whole life for that.
Yesterday was like living inside of a wormhole because there was an incredible amount of drama on the internet. We have non-Black people saying the N-word. Bookstagram was a whole mess. A whole mess.
But let's just focus on one thing at a time, shall we?
This all began because of engagement pods. Now, if you are not familiar with what an engagement pod is, it is essentially a chain of people who get together and they all decide that they're gonna mutually follow each other, like each other's posts, engage with each other's content. And in order to stay in the pod, you have to consistently follow everybody and engage with each other. These are a tool that is intended to be an algorithm buster. Now, those of us who navigate Bookstagram know that the Instagram navigator, the Instagram algorithm is cruel and unkind, which means that it can be very difficult to get engagements with your posts. It can be very difficult to get posts to show up on the feed of those who follow you. It's so frustrating, and that's why engagement pods were created as a way to help smaller Bookstagrammers grow, Bookstagrammers that are being passed over and fight back against being drowned out among the other Bookstagram voices. A very well-known Bookstagrammer, Jordy of Jordy's Book Club, posted a rant in his Instagram story denouncing the use of engagement pods. In his stories, he was heavily critiquing this practice. He's made several stories about this within the last month, so I don't know why people all of a sudden care, but basically he was saying that he's vehemently against this practice. Now, I want to be transparent and say that Jordy is a friend of mine. We see the world very differently, and we almost always have incredibly different perspectives on issues, and that's part of why I really enjoy our interactions. That's part of what makes our friendship so great, and I want to make it perfectly clear that I am not here to drag him. That's not what this video is, although there's gonna be some dragging.
Dragging through the snow.
I can still support Jordy as a friend while also having my own opinions and being honest. If you've been following me for any length of time, you know that I always give my personal, honest opinions here on Bow Ties and Books. Moving on. To recap, a widely known Bookstagrammer with a huge following went on his Instagram stories and said that engagement pods are problematic. Now, in order to address the backlash from his statements, Jordy went on his Instagram story and said the following. After 2 years of being on here, sometimes I forget that I now carry a bigger megaphone than before. And if I'm going to make big pronouncements, I better have the data to back that shit up. I didn't in this situation, and that got me into trouble here. I know now that this ultimately came across as condescending when I then decided to, oh wait, what the fuck? I know now that this ultimately came across as condescending when I then decided to segue into coming after engagement pods instead of opening a dialogue. I was accusatory and painted many of you with a big brush you didn't deserve. I absolutely love to see people take full accountability like this in their apologies. By the time I got wind of the drama, I went to Jordy's page, and this was the very first thing I saw on his Instagram story, and I was very pleasantly surprised to see that he had kind of atoned for his actions and just simply said, "I'm sorry." Because those two words go a long way. He then says, "I'm human, I make mistakes." Which makes me cringe a little bit. I hate when people say, "Oh my God, I'm human."
We know that you're a human being.
It always makes me cringe when people say this in their apologies. I understand that the purpose of it is to remind the person who is listening to you that you're a person too. My issue with this statement, it's kind of like you start an apology and then you just slowly back out of it. I know it seems like I'm nitpicking. A sincere apology that takes accountability is a hard skill. And the entire reason that I'm pointing out issues with Jordy's apology apology is not to get anybody canceled, and it's not to say that the apology isn't good enough or anything like that. It's more to help others who are inevitably going to make these mistakes in the future. These were mistakes that I made when I was first trying to learn how to issue apologies online and even in person. And it's really only through seeing those patterns and recognizing those mistakes that we can start to break those bad habits and form much better apology etiquette. But there are new Bookstagrammers coming onto this platform every day, and many of them reached out today to say that they immediately felt pressured to join an engagement pod and then felt bullied and ostracized when they tried to leave. Bullied and ostracized where? Why haven't I seen screenshots? Here's the thing. People love to screenshot, especially on Bookstagram. People love receipts. And I'm not necessarily denying that people are being bullied and ostracized for not joining these engagement pods, but I'm curious as to why I haven't seen literally anybody provide a receipt of this. I know that this is going to get me canceled, but I'm genuinely curious. We have so many receipts of every drama that happens in Bookstagram. I personally think that the word bullying gets thrown around a little too willy-nilly on Bookstagram. Before you say that you're a bully, just take a second to ask yourself, am I being bullied or am I simply experiencing uncomfortable conflict? Conflict is not abuse, but it's also not up to me to decide what bullying is and isn't. What's bullying to me might not be bullying to somebody else. As somebody that was very overtly and severely bullied in
middle school and high school,
I have a very warped perception of what bullying is, and I acknowledge that. Things like this can so often and so easily be in the eye of the beholder, and I don't have the right to say that something is or isn't bullying for somebody else. But I do have the right to ask why I haven't seen any proof or receipts of the bullying. I just want to know where it is. Where is it at? Maybe it's coming. I want to see. Okay, just wait a second. Here's the thing. When the American Dirt controversy was going around on Bookstagram, people were like,
Oh my god, I'm getting bullied for liking this book.
and then people would show the receipts of them getting bullied, and it literally was someone just being like, hey, you know that this book is problematic and harmful, maybe you should rethink your stance on this book. Or if you are going to post a positive review of this book, perhaps you could also include some of the criticisms so that we can open up the dialogue surrounding this book. I literally saw so many people claim that they were bullied simply because somebody else added a different perspective from theirs. Someone having a different opinion than you, that doesn't mean you're getting bullied. I've also heard people say that they experienced backlash from them making a comment and someone else saying, yeah, I don't agree with that comment. Disagreement is not backlash. It's not bullying. I have been asked several times to join these Instagram engagement groups, and each time I did one of two things. I literally just deleted it and didn't reply, or I did reply and I was like, hey, I don't partake in this practice, but best of luck to you. And at no point in time with either of those, I think I've gotten at least 10 invitations to these engagement pods. At no point in time did anybody ever bully me or even send a follow-up message or harass me in any way, shape, or form. But again, just because it hasn't happened to me personally doesn't mean it hasn't happened to somebody else. Who am I to tell any of you what to do with your own time, your own feed, and your own friend group? Not my place and none of my business. I hear you. So I personally loved that he got to the heart of the criticism here. People were really frustrated with him literally coming onto his story and saying, this is wrong, it's not cool, this is not how to do Bookstagram, it's not the way. And I thought it showed growth and self-reflection that he stopped and realized, yeah, I don't get to decide what the right way to function on Bookstagram is. I'm not the Bookstagram king. All in all, I thought it was a really solid apology. I thought it showed growth and reflection, and also I thought that it showed that he listened to the criticisms. Now, if only our president can follow suit. Now it is time for the good stuff. We are now going to be discussing other people's reactions. I'm going to be presenting a myriad of positions and opinions just so that you can kind of see kind of the full gambit of what people were thinking and feeling. You know, it's so interesting to see narcissists band together in a concerted effort to shame people for the very behavior they displayed less than a year ago. Even more interesting to see how quickly we absolve and reward bullies, troublemakers, white saviors, panderers, and social climbers in this community. You can delete your offenses, but they're never forgotten if you catch my drift. That's all I'm gonna say. And in regards to the panderers and social climbers comment, it's definitely not a secret that the Bookstagrams that do well, the ones that get that 50K, 30K, even that 20K milestone, are usually the ones who are very clearly designed to grow. Like the accounts that are really geared towards doing Bookstagram giveaways and like, follow me and I'll give you this book. Bookstagrammers that constantly post about the newest, the hottest releases, as opposed to focusing on like backlist book reviews, for example. And I do not at all want to give the impression that it was just Jordy making sweeping statements condemning engagement pods on his Instagram, because that is absolutely not true. There were a number of very, very well-known Bookstagrammers with large following, all of them white, all of them who tend to do giveaways and post about the newest and hottest releases, who have Bookstagrammers that are very clearly geared toward growth, who went on their Instagram stories and said the same exact thing. We're kind of talking about the elite of Bookstagram, the Bookstagrammers that people aspire to be like, who get the most likes and the most views, the people that newer Bookstagrammers reach out to and ask advice, the Bookstagrammers that a lot of us aspire to emulate. And so I don't want to give the impression that it's just one person with this one ideology, and this one absolutely killed me. So much of it is luck, meaning growth on Bookstagram. The right shout out from the right person, an invitation to an engagement group, call the authenticity police. I just love that the bookshelf was basically being like,
Who freaking cares?
apparently engagement pods have been very problematic. I'm not calling them out, but some have been very forceful in what they require from those participating. Some have even said that they were being bullied in these spaces and turning them off from the Bookstagram community as a whole. Now that's not cute. Let the record be clear. I don't have an opinion about engagement pods. If that's what you want to do, that's on you. It's when you start doing the most that I'm like, okay, let's rein this back in. And by the most, I assume Jamie is referring to harassing people, doing that bullying, and asking a lot, asking more and more of people that are within your engagement pod and pressuring them and alienating them and turning them off to Bookstagram as a whole. Because Bookstagram is supposed to be fun. It is a creative outlet. Nobody is making money off Bookstagram.
Okay, well, some people are.
People aren't joining Bookstagram to get rich and famous.
Okay, well, some people are.
Another comment, I got invited to one of these and ignored it. I read for the pleasure of reading and hope to connect with other people who love what I love. The number of followers I gave is low on my priority list. Plus, I don't like being obligated to anyone. This is a hobby, not my job. Another perspective, I've received quite a few of those DMs. I'm like, as long as they read books by people of color, which they weren't, I get it. It's hard in such an oversaturated place now, but I can't help feel cheated at the same time. This was a comment on a public post to which the OP replied, I don't think it was necessarily a problem. If it's hundreds of people, as Jordy said, that's weird. But a group of friends trying to help boost each other's engagement doesn't seem like an issue. Sometimes it feels like I'm posting into an echo chamber, which then makes it kind of hard to post, and I end up scrolling without actually posting. Why not try to help your friends out in situations like that? So this comment is from somebody who was in an engagement pod, and this is their perspective. I was part of one at one point, but it was about 7 of us who commented on each other's posts when we saw them. It was intended to be an algorithm buster. I fell out of it when I realized some of the posts weren't ones I really had much to engage on. And the last perspective I'm going to be sharing, if you're taking time in the middle of a global pandemic where millions of people are sick, in pain, and dying to bully people and insert unnecessary negativity into the world, that says more about you than it does about people cheating at quote-unquote growing followers on Bookstagram. Bookstagram is not real. Your account could disappear in 5 seconds without warning. Why the fuck are people so pissed off about stuff that is not a real life-changing problem? Relax. If you use engagement pods to grow, I don't care, and neither do most people. This isn't a competition for followers, so do you. My 3 years of work on this platform is not invalidated by anyone else's actions ever. The response was, if the way other people function on social media bothers you, then perhaps do yourself a favor and just take a break from it. I deleted a whole ass account with thousands of followers and came back with a different perspective months later. So I know it can be done.
Thousands of followers?
The Slytherin in me
Just slithered away.
Worrying about what is and isn't fair when you're talking about something as meaningless as an Instagram follower count raises red flags. Actual unfairness comes with real consequences. Hyper-focusing on some made-up rules about a made-up place will only make you feel bad about things that don't really matter in your actual life. Please create boundaries around social media for your mental health, people. It can be done. I don't know why the line "it can be done" is sending me. And I don't know where I'm going, but like I'm on the way. It can be done. What was that old white man voice that just came out of my Black and Mexican queer body? You know how anti-Black white gays will be like,
Inside, I'm a Black woman.
apparently inside, I'm an elder white man.
Does this mean I can get out of speeding tickets?
Will people stop asking me if I live in the building that I live in? Honestly, just the shade in that post was killing me. As you could see, people were having actual discussions surrounding this whole drama, which I thought was good and constructive and healthy.
But then,
The people on their high horses rode in to just save the day.
with their fucking toxic positivity.
I started seeing posts saying, oh my God, you guys, can't we just be positive? Instagram is positivity only. Positive vibes only here. This negativity is killing my mood. Positive vibes. There's something inherently ignorant about expecting a virtual space, a virtual community full of hundreds of thousands of people to be drama-free. I don't know about you, but I do not walk up to fellow readers in the bookstore and hold their hand and break into Lift Every Voice and sing. Hakuna Matata is for the Lion King. People think they're so revolutionary rolling their eyes at drama and pretending to be above it all.
Newsflash, there is
No human interaction without conflict. Our conflict makes us human. If you want uniformity,
then become an AI.
watch Ex Machina. I was scrolling through these posts wondering why so many people are fighting for an invariable world. It made me think about that quote that says,
What the fuck is the quote?
you laugh at me because I'm different, but I laugh because you're all the same. Conflict and drama are incorrigible byproducts of humankind's free will. Remove that and we cease to be human. This is not a tough concept.
But
To drive the point home, I have compiled a short list of what civilization looks like when people are forced to nurse the same opinions and ideology. Spot the lie. And I'm just gonna say it. Some of y'all don't know the difference between drama and a difference in personal opinion. Some of y'all don't know the difference between positivity and apathy. It's always the same cheerleaders saying, oh my God, let's all be positive, who are eerily silent when marginalized communities are asking for help. 911, what's your emergency? I'm being murdered. No, no, no. None of that defeatist attitude here. Please help me. Have you tried just being happy? Try to look at the situation positively. I'm being murdered. A little more positive. I won't have to repay my student loans? Exactly. So, are you gonna send someone or... I'll tell you what, I'm gonna send you some rose-colored glasses. I don't usually get involved in online drama, but what's this? I know that you were looking for a cookie, but all I have is this brownie. Hot take. Positivity is not you ignoring what's going on in your community and in the world. So at the same exact time, at the same time that this was happening on Bookstagram, I made a post of my own, completely oblivious of what was going on in the reading community. And my post was about how we have this expectation on Bookstagram that our feed has to look a certain way. People are really afraid to branch out on their Bookstagram content because they want to stick with what works, and they want to stick with what works because they're afraid of alienating followers. Went on my Instagram story and started having a discussion about it, and I was like, hey, I just want to say, if you want to change your feed, go for it. And I showed off all the different kind of phases and moods that I have had on my Instagram. My feed changes every 3 months. I do not give a rat's tail about whether or not changing my feed is going to hurt my follow count. Because if somebody follows my page, I want them to be there for me, for my reviews, for my thoughts. If you're here for the aesthetic, cool, but I am a person who likes to change and switch things up. I don't have a consistent aesthetic. I never have, I never will. And I said on this post, I made it very clear on this post, I made it exquisitely clear on this post that if you are one of those people who enjoys the popular uniform feed, if you like to keep your presets all the same, etc., totally freaking cool. Do you. Do what works for you. It's your page, it's your content. Who cares? Do what makes you happy. So, made this post, was really excited about it because the whole point of it was to just like empower people who were scared to be creative. That was literally all I wanted to do on the post. So I uploaded all of those thoughts to my Instagram story and then checked in a couple hours later. By horrible coincidence, I had no idea about the drama that was happening with big Bookstagrammers critiquing engagement pods. So what was trending in the Bookstagram community was this hashtag called #WhyIBookstagram. And the whole point of the #WhyIBookstagram hashtag was for people to kind of make a post and say, yo, this is why I'm in this community. I'm in this community for friendships, for creativity, for engagement, for this, that, and the other. I read these posts and assumed that they were about me and that these people were just like throwing shade at me.
Now, in my defense,
the timing was impeccable and horrible. Like, there couldn't have been more coincidental timing. That's not the point. I'm seeing all these posts with the #WhyIBookstagram hashtag and thinking that they're all shade about the story that I uploaded, not at all realizing that they are actually a reaction to the engagement pod bullshit that's happening. So I go on a whole Bookstagram story rant saying like, if you have an issue with anything that I say, I would really appreciate it if you just hit me up and then we had an open discussion and dialogue about it instead of you making posts on your feed and talking to everybody but me, the person you have the actual issue with. Was it nobody talking about me? Was it nobody talking about me? Nobody was talking about me at all. I leapfrogged to conclusions. This is a perfectly good example of how easily things can be misconstrued online and how I myself am guilty of misconstruing things online, making assumptions, thinking that things are about me when they're not at all. Okay, so I have spent a lot of time talking about everybody else's perspectives but my own. Given all of the perspectives that have been offered, this is what I personally think. When I saw these Bookstagrammers going out and going on full-blown rants about these engagement pod groups and being annoyed that they exist, I literally was like, this is it? What? Oh, this one right here? You're sure? What the funk are you talking about? I'm sorry, I just wanted to make sure that this is the hill you were ready to die on. It is absolutely no secret that white Bookstagrammers do better. They don't just do better, they are the standard. And it's not even just white Bookstagrammers, but light-skinned Bookstagrammers. Find me one Bookstagrammer that is dark-skinned, and I'm saying like 3 shades darker than me. Find me one Bookstagrammer that is at 50K. And then consider the demographic of the Bookstagrammers that are criticizing people using engagement pods to grow their platform and to get ahead. These Bookstagrammers are all freaking white. They are all white or incredibly light-skinned or white passing. And in case you're not understanding what I'm saying, I have compiled a short list of images that illustrates what these Bookstagrammers look like. It is incredibly difficult. It is mind-bogglingly difficult to grow on Bookstagram as a dark-skinned person of any race. This is not something that I'm making up. You cannot find Bookstagrammers that are at 50K, 75K, 100K that are black, that are dark-skinned black people. And I can already hear people in the comments saying, well, Bookstagram is largely a white space. That is not true. Bookstagram is not at all a white space. I need you to wholeheartely rethink that statement because it is not at all rooted in the statistics that make up the Bookstagram community. There are thousands of black Bookstagrammers living in America. That doesn't even count Bookstagrammers that live in India. Bookstagrammers of color are in no short supply. So why is it that white Bookstagrammers are the ones that have the biggest following? It's because society is more likely to listen to those voices. White faces, white voices, and white people's opinions are seen as the standard. So those accounts grow very, very quickly. White people are seen as more attractive, and people that are viewed as attractive also grow more quickly on social media. People that are thin grow more quickly on social media. People that don't use African American vernacular and slang, who don't have heavy accents that speak of non-Western centric cultures, are less likely to get followed on Bookstagram. And it is not because these people are in short supply. My biggest issue wasn't at all that these Bookstagrammers were critiquing the fact that engagement pods exist and that people are using them to get ahead. My issue was that these white Bookstagrammers went on their platforms of thousands of people, and they chose to ignore the fact that the reason that they even got that platform in the first place is because they are white. Look, it's easy to sit on your high horse when your white privilege allowed you to climb atop of it in the first place. Your white privilege got your foot into the stirrups and your hard work helped you swing a leg over, but that doesn't change the fact that you had an inherent advantage getting onto that horse in the first place. That advantage helps you remain in the saddle even when you should be bucked off. Tina Belcher would be so proud of me right now. I'm not at all saying that these white Bookstagrammers should have had their platforms decimated because of the ignorant mistake that they made. I don't agree with that statement. But it is telling that people are still following these accounts, people are still standing these accounts and standing behind them. Even if you manage to dig up a small, pitiful handful of dark-skinned Bookstagrammers that are thriving and doing incredibly well on this platform, it still isn't even a far cry in comparison to the white Bookstagrammers, and I find it very tone-deaf and ignorant that these Bookstagrammers failed to acknowledge their privilege in this conversation. These Bookstagrammers are literally judging other people who have to use engagement pods in order to grow when they themselves never needed those pods in the first place because their privilege helped them get to where they are. What I have noticed personally from the people who have reached out to me in engagement pods was that these were majority Bookstagrammers of color. And let me fucking tell you, it is incredibly hard for Bookstagrammers of color to grow. A large part of the reason that people seem to think that Bookstagram is a white space is because these accounts that are run by people of color rarely make it past the 1,000 mark. They rarely get seen. They don't get followed in the first place. They don't get promoted on the trending hashtag parts of Bookstagram, which means they are rendered invisible. My personal thoughts on the engagement pods is that you should not be reaching out to people you don't even know and frickin' strangers and asking them to join this group. Honestly, I think that it's kind of rude. But do I think it's the end of the world? No. How do I know it's not the end of the world?
Because we're in the middle of a pandemic.
You know what I do when I get those messages? I delete them and then I move on with my life. I don't feel the need to go on my Instagram story and judge and critique people who felt the need to join those pods in the first place. I think these bigger Bookstagrammers, some of which are very clearly designed to build lots of popularity, I could literally turn around and say the same thing about them. I could say, it's so fake that you request books from the publisher just so that you can show them off on pub day. Or I could say that, oh my gosh, it's so fake that you do these big giveaways in order to get people to follow you and grow your platform. It's so fake that all of your Bookstagram photos looked like they were staged in some literary magazine. Stay out of people's business. Mind your business.
Mind your business.
If you have created this massive platform and you're going to use that platform in order to judge and critique the way other people are running their smaller and unnoticed platforms, maybe you should reevaluate your platform. I still have yet to see anybody who's clearly in these engagement pods really thriving and do well. As far as I'm aware, I don't know of anybody who hit 50K using a freaking engagement pod, because guess what? Engagement pods don't actually work. They don't really help you, and I will explain why. Instagram strategically notices who routinely interacts with your posts. If the same people interact with your posts, Instagram gets suspicious. To be honest, engagement pods do very little. The only thing they do in actuality is provide the illusion that people are liking and engaging with your posts. It does nothing to grow your actual platform as a whole. And I'm going to make a video talking about how to grow your Bookstagram. If you are interested, definitely stay around. Stay tuned for that. Wow, I talked a lot, and I really want to hear what y'all have to say. What are your thoughts on this Bookstagram drama? Do you think that engagement pods are ethical or not? Do you think that there is a right or wrong way to operate on Bookstagram? If you don't agree with any of my personal thoughts, I'm not going to be offended. I'm not going to be mad at you, but I would love to hear your actual perspective. I want to have a discussion. I want to have dialogue. I don't want to bulldoze over anybody else's thoughts or try to force my opinion onto you. So let's have a discussion. That is going to do it for this video. If you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I would absolutely love it if you became a part of my dapper family. All of my social media links will be in the description box below. Stay safe, and I can't wait to see you in my next video.